Hey folks, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. And this is for a film that a very nice guy on here, Dustin, sent me. And that is a film called Circuitry Man. The final frontier is not outer space, it is the human mind. Plug in. I like how this says at the bottom here, now available on video cassette and laserdisc. And that's how the inside looks. Apparently there's a two-pack with this and the sequel that apparently, well, it's I guess out of print because it's really expensive. But if you get that 2-pack, it has audio commentary on both films with the makers of the film as well as Vernon Wells. Who this is this guy here, which I didn't recognize. I'm like, that's Vernon Wells? Yeah, this is Vernon Wells, the bad guy in Commando, the bad guy in the Road Warrior. Vernon Wells himself. And it's directed by a guy named Stephen Lovey, who I think directed the sequel, as well as he directed another film called Mix, and that's the only films this guy directed. And first I want to thank Dustin for sending me this. He didn't have to, but he let me know ahead of time he was sending me this. I'm like, oh, okay. Obviously he wants me to check it out. But Circuitry Man, at the end of the day, it was there. I mean, it was there. Man, I'll read the back. Set in the near future, when the atmosphere has become too polluted and toxic for humans to live, forcing them to live underground, a dark, depressing environment that can only be escaped with supplies of oxygen and the use of secret pathways that lead topside. Dana Wheeler Nicholson, who was in Fletch, and I remember this girl, the lead girl, she was also in an episode of The X-Files, a thing called SISD. I think that's the one where you had... Shit. You had two girls who went to school, and they kind of fought with each other, but they were affected the environment. People thought it was a cult thing going, but it was these two who had like powers and stuff. Anyway, I remember her being in that. But she's Lori, a former bodyguard compelled into serving her former boss, Juice, played by Lou Leonard. Very butch-looking, big woman that you think she's a man, but she's really a woman. A vicious dealer. During exchange with the ruthless addict, Plughead. Yes, Vernon Wells' character is named Plughead, obviously, for that reason. When a police bust causes everything to go wrong, Lori ends up with the store and an opportunity to change her life. But she needs to get to New York and escape the sadistic Plughead, not to mention the cops pursuing her, to capitalize on the illegal cachet. The illegal cachet is microchips. Microchips that, pretty much microchips are kind of like drugs, where people can plug in and, ooh, you know, even Vernon Wells plugs one in and is like, ooh, this is pure shit. Or this shit is pure. That's what it says. This shit is pure. So she has these microchips that, again, it's kind of like drugs in the future. And she wants to get to New York to sell it. Lori teams up with Danner, played by Jim Metzler, a synthetic gigolo held captive by an idea Juice has planted in his program. Now, he's sort of like a... How do I describe this guy? You know, a proper... I don't want to say Englishman, but he's like very proper and... you know, he has like his room's fancy, he likes drinking wine. And when it says here, an idea Juice is planning in this program is that he has this lost love. And if you do stuff for us, you'll see your lost love, even though that lost love never existed. But because they programmed it into him, he thinks there is. Lori manipulates Danner for his assistance in getting to New York, but the two face extraordinary hazards and obstacles on the way. Humorous characters and clever plotting don't hide this shoestring budget, but this is one film that proves that inspired situations don't require pyrotechnics, and the ideas behind this film are worth being explored. I don't know about that. I mean, it definitely, you tell it's a low budget film. And like, it says there, there's pollution in the future, forces people to live underground. And this girl is a female bodyguard. She doesn't really show herself much as being a badass for a bodyguard. She really doesn't. I mean, the first time we see her, she gets tied up by this. She's tied up, sort of trying to be a kinky sex thing, but no nudity in it. The guy leaves, and these people come in and want her to work for them. And then you have this fight, like the place is jiggling, and the scissors drop to her hand. She cuts the rope, and she does this thing. I guess lifts her foot from the banister, and I don't know, the way it's edited, it's very unconvincing. Like, she put her legs up over her head, and it took the banister with her to hit a guy in the head, but at the same time, I thought it was shot pretty poorly, at least in my opinion. It just wasn't convincing. She ducked someone's punching, so he punches another person. She had headbutted this girl who was straddling her. I was like, okay, we want to see if you still had it. You gotta do this for juice. Yeah, this butch fat woman is, again, her name is Juice. That's rude me saying fat. I'm fat too, so I shouldn't talk. But hell, I'm fat, so I can call people fat. But this is the best way to describe this woman. Very butch. Uh, Didn't pretty much take these microchips from LA to New York. Vernon Wells is a reason to keep watching. Like, it's worth a watch for Vernon Wells, because I thought Vernon Wells was the best thing in the movie easily. Vernon Wells was a lot of fun. I think he did a good job. Acting wise, he was a good villain. I would say give this film a look if you're a big Vernon Wells fan, because I think he did a good job. I'll see how he does in the sequel, but he was good in this. He's worth watching. He's a good villain. And again, they have this meeting, but then these cops come in. They find out it's a setup, and the cops I didn't care for. These are two bundling guys. One's a little bit overweight. The other is a dumb guy. It's like cops you would see in Last House on the Left or some shit. Like the comic relief bumbling cops that you didn't fucking need. Could have completely cut out of the flick. And then you think Vernon Wells killed this woman Juice, but she appears later with like a cast around her neck. But Vernon Wells does a good job. Like, he says lines like, "Such a big woman, yet you break so easily." Like, Vernon Wells is a lot of fun. And sometimes he would plug stuff in to, get a high, or uh, pretty much the girl gets away. This proper romantic Romeo, as she calls this guy, this gigolo, Dan promises him that, "Oh, I'll lead you to your lost love if you become my driver." So they meet this guy who, like, he's hung up and he has no legs. It reminds me of that guy in Beetlejuice. The guy in Beetlejuice who, I guess, got ran over, and he goes by and he flips through. If you've seen Beetlejuice, you know the guy I'm talking about. It kind of reminds me of that guy. Well, he has no legs, and he's got like his tools dangling on it. Gives him this car, and the gigolo guy, played by Jim Metzler, he picks out this classic car, a car that you don't need to plug in. Because, like Vernon Wells does later, interesting idea, he could just plug into the car, and he's like, "No, look, Ma, no hands." So you can drive the vehicle without steering it, because he just plugged in. So, interesting idea. But this guy, even though pretty much he's pretty much the circuitry man, he doesn't really want to do that. He just wants to drive this classic car. And a good portion of the film are in pretty much these parking garages. Again, it shows the low budget. And apparently there's this parking garage called the Maze, and it leads from LA to Denver. And I'm like, okay, like, huh. And there's these sewer leeches, and it drops on one of them, and they get help from this very dirty guy named Leech, played by Dennis Christopher. Yeah, this guy who was in Fade to Black. He was in Stephen King's It. I thought he was fun. I mean, he pretty much makes a deal with them. He helps the Circuitry Man guy out, the Gigolo guy, gets the leeches off of him. And he said, the only way out is topside, and I got the oxy. And she's like, why do you want to go? He's like, simple, I'm sick. I eat leeches. And he eats a leech. So, interesting character Dennis Christopher plays. I think he's in the second one as well. They get the top side, and of course, shit like, I guess he could just, you need oxygen, so usually people need like those little things in their nose to breathe. But apparently, just because the windows are up and he releases oxygen, it's fine and dandy. So I guess in vehicles, the oxygen won't escape. They just need to roll the windows up. So apparently it's like AC or something. You just roll the windows up, you let the oxygen tank go, and you can just breathe fine. Unless you put the top down, then you need the thing then. I'm like, okay, sure. And they find a place to get some more. The Gigolo guy bets on billiards, but it's so cheap. You know how usually when you, okay, let's make a bet with this guy on playing pool, and you show the guy like in this pocket, in this pocket, in this pocket. No, this film is so cheap they don't show that. You just hear and people's reactions. You just hear it. And of course they think he's cheating, so they get him out. And then, okay, maybe this is when the girl's gonna show us really how she is as this, she's supposed to be this female bodyguard, right? To handle herself. No, you don't see it, you just hear it. Because it's from the guy the Gigolo guy who's trapped, and it's pretty much like you push one button, there's air, you push one button, there's no air. And pretty much it's just pushing on, pushing off, pushing on, pushing off. Apparently for the people outside. But you don't see the fight, you just hear it. Which I thought was pretty lame. It was different. Just because different doesn't mean it's good. I don't know how many times I can say that. And Dennis Christopher, he flips them off and steals the car. I mean, of course, he's called Leech. What do you expect? They get a ride from the trucker who they were fighting with. And like, there's a scene where he's driving. I swear he's like humping the air. He's like, listen to the song. Like, is he humping the air? Is there an invisible man on his lap that he's fucking? And like, trying to go for humor is not working. I like, of course, Vernon Wells is following them because he wants the case and stuff of the microchips. Comes across these bikers who want to. Again, this is when Vernon Wells really is the best thing of this movie. Because like the guy comes up and says, I'm going to put some slugs. What do you say? I'm going to fill your plugs with slugs. And he takes the air thing out of Vernon Wells' nose. And Vernon Wells did this very well. He's like, put it back in. What? Well, you see, when you pull that out, I'm losing air. But I'm also finding it very difficult to ask you nicely. Actually, that's what he says. I find it difficult to breathe. I'm also finding it difficult to ask you nicely. So put it back. And he has like a big gun on his vehicle and, shoots one of them and steers them. No, 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 no. With your lips. He has to use his lips to put it back on. Vernon Wells, this character, and he's easily the best part of the movie. Vernon Wells did a really great job. And he's having fun with the role, you can tell. I'm sure he's fun on that commentary, but you need like $60 to get that 2-pack DVD. Because Vernon Wells is on the commentary for both. It'd be fun to hear what he has to say and stuff. He's pretty fun in the interview for the Commando Special Edition DVD as well. So, but anyway, they catch up to our two leads, and some of Vernon Wells' bad guys go in. There's a trap. There's an explosion. The girl gets away, but the Gigolo stays there with the trucker. The trucker, he gets ropes on him, and they pretty much pull him apart. You don't really see it. You see like an arm pop off. At first they're going to do the same thing to the Gigolo, but he's like, let me plug into you. And it pretty much shows him and proves to him that his lost love never existed. It pretty much lets him know, because it's like, before the Gigolo has said, you better, tell me where she is or I'll kill myself. And so in this instance, he goes, hey, if you don't kill yourself, use this, and gives him a knife. Pretty much doesn't believe in him, doesn't think he has anything to worry about this guy. So it's sort of like the James Bond thing. uh, it pretty much, Dennis Christopher comes back and picks up the girl, and they go to the meeting in New York, and that's where you find the Juice Girl's alive. And then the cops get there, and, well, before that, Vernon Wells and people he's with get there, and then Vernon Wells takes the girl away with the suitcase, and then you just hear the gunfire. So Dennis Christopher and like all these other people, you just hear gunfire. The cops, everything. You just hear gunfire. And Vernon Wells says something about, well, I didn't want the suitcase, I wanted you all along. I'm like, bullshit. And then the Gigolo guy gets there and has a confrontation with him, and you find out that, of course, he's also a Circuitry Man too. And I'm like, I should have realized that better. I should have realized that off the bat because of this, but I thought, it was implants and stuff because they mentioned that, but he's a Circuitry Man too. Just like the Gigolo guy. Oh, I gotta mention, when he's talking to the girl, he mentions a funny line. It's like, why jack off when you can jack in? Vernon Wells, again, he's the best part. He gets pretty much the Gigolo into his head, like, welcome to my mind. And his mind's fucked up because, like, land of dead bodies. But even this ending is pretty lame because it's pretty much he's torturing the Gigolo guy. And this is what he looks like in his head. So his face is a little bit more fucked up in his head. And the guy, he takes the knife that he had given, jams it into him, and when he pulls out, there's a flaming sword. So it gets him, being tough now. He swings the flaming sword as Vernon Wells comes at him, and it cuts away. And then she waits up, looks, okay, there's Vernon Wells dead, so I don't know how the hell he comes back in the sequel. And then there's the Gigolo, he's alive. And I guess he's fine. And then it cuts back to, Dennis Christopher got away with this other girl who is with Vernon Wells. And the Gigolo and the lead go off and are happily ever after. And I'm like, see, this is why this movie... What I like about it is I like Vernon Wells. He's really great. And I liked some of the ideas. Plugging into the car and you controlling the car without having, any hands on it. Dennis Christopher, I liked him. And I don't think the acting was that bad from the other people. I had a couple of decent ideas. But the low budget, you can really tell it says it's low budget, but you can really tell with this film. And the constant cutaway, okay, you cut away from them playing pool, you cut away from the fight that, I don't buy that this girl's a badass as a bodyguard, that this is why they needed her. Why, to me, it still goes, why did you need her? She was just a damsel in distress. That's all it was. I never bought her as this tough woman who, yeah, that's the one Juice, this girl, this boss Juice wants for this offer and to see if she still got it. No, she still doesn't have it because she doesn't. And the ending was pretty lame and lackluster and cutaway and stuff. And it's not like the scenery was much. A little bit low budget stuff at the beginning of the film. Some parking garage in the mirror, and the sewers in the mirror, in the middle. Then this out in the desert, and then probably some warehouse they found somewhere. Even when it's in his mind, okay, you see this world of dead bodies, okay, cool. And the guy sticks himself and pulls out his flaming sword, okay, it's in his mind, so anything can happen. But, a battle, a fight, fisticuffs, nothing. It just, he swings as Vernon Wells comes at him and it cuts away. And I'm like, low budget is no excuse. I've seen dozens and dozens of low budget films. Nemesis and fucking Death Machine and constant PM Entertainment movies. I mean, come on, man. So, Circuitry Man, I like seeing Vernon Wells and some of the ideas, but really that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't care for it. So, this would be like a rant/review. Circuitry Man. It's a film I have no intent of watching again unless I just fast forward to the Vernon Wells parts. That's really the best way. I fast forward to the Vernon Wells parts and I watch it for Vernon Wells. That's pretty much it. So it's cool if anyone like Dustin or anyone likes the film, but I thought, other than Vernon Wells, there was nothing to this movie other than Vernon Wells. He was the best part, and to me, really the only good part. Okay, this came out in 1990. The First Power is a great movie. That came out in 1990. You know, I look forward to that Blu-ray when that comes out. LDP for life. Like, that's a film I like. I love. Like, this film, no. Sorry. But that's just my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. Just my opinion. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. And stay tuned for another review. Later.